Maurice Nicole's Psychological Commentaries, Volume 3, based on Nicole's work with Gurdjieff, Ouspensky, and Jung. Khurramid Ugly, September 29, 1945. Commentary on Making Decisions in the Work. Video 1 of 3. In making decisions in the work, the mind must be free from its bondage to mechanical attitudes. Otherwise, you will make decisions always from your personality, from what you have been taught as being right and wrong. This freeing of the mind only begins when you let the work enter into your mind and so change your mind. It is the will that must make decisions, not the will of your mechanical mind. Will belongs to every center and every part of a center and, in fact, to every I. If the work and its ideas have not begun to change your mind, you will always make decisions in terms of your own mind, which judges things in a mechanical way according to what you have been brought up to think right and wrong. In other words, you are not making right decisions in the work sense from this laid down, already formed mind that you are using and have always used in life. It is exactly this so-called mind that the work begins to attack in order to lead to change of mind. That is, in order to change the way you think about everything. On one occasion, Gurdjieff was talking about decisions. And at that time, I happened to make a note about what he said, which I will now give you in the exact words that I have recorded. He said, quote, "You cannot make a decision from one I. For example, you make a small decision not to smoke while you were sitting quietly. The next moment you get up and you light a cigarette. When you're not in moving center, that is, not moving about, you may make a decision that is instantly forgotten when you begin to move. This is making a decision from a small I, let us say, in the intellectual center." End quote. Gurdjieff said that these decisions made in small I's, when, as it were, you're in a certain passing state of mind, are quite useless. He added, quote, "They are not quite useless because they show you how difficult it is to make a real decision. Such decisions show us how we cannot control our machines, namely, all our centers." End quote. He was speaking, of course, about how decisions in the work sense must come from a much deeper level than that on which such small I's exist. Now, as you all know, we make decisions of this small kind continually, as when we have eaten too much or when we make a decision not to eat so much again, and all these decisions are made on the superficial level of the opposites and are practically always, if you notice, formed in words. Real decisions are not formed in words because they come from a much deeper source. Gurdjieff went on to speak about decisions in the following terms that I will give you just as he said them. Ordinary decisions we make are mechanical, and these are quite different from conscious decisions. A man tries to alter one thing without seeing how it is connected with other things. This means that he is not properly conscious, and so he makes a mechanical decision. Then Gurdjieff began talking about what he called the binaries. The word binaries comes from the Latin binarius, consisting of two. He gave us an example of a binary. Necessary and unnecessary. These are opposites. He said that a decision in the work sense does not lie in the binaries, but in the neutralizing force or the third force that turns a binary into a ternary, meaning threefold, or a triad, from Latin ternarius. He said that our life is led in binaries, that is, opposites. This is called the law of pendulum, under which we are mechanical. He said, quote, "You have a dispute within yourself between yes and no. This binary situation in yourself must be transformed by a third force and turned into a ternary, a triad. In general, man, since he does not remember himself and so has not got third force in his life, is always swinging between the opposites. That is, his life is always in binaries which are irreconcilable. The struggle between yes and no is not solved by going either with yes or no. A third factor has to be found which turns these binaries into a triad or a ternary, which no longer resembles the situation that was produced by the state of being in binaries or opposites. Yes or no becomes something quite different, which we can only describe as yes and no.